Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Marina Martins-Ide. I'm an Education USA advisor at Education USA PUC-Rio in Brazil. This week is a very special week. We are celebrating the International Education Week. And today we have Landon and Juan from the University of Kentucky, and they're going to talk to us a little bit about applying and specifically talking about engineering, which is a very popular subject. Landon, Juan, thank you for being here, and the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Marina. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy to be here. My name is Landon. As Marina just mentioned, I'm with the University of Kentucky. I work in the international office, so with international students all over the world, including Brazil, that are interested in applying to the University of Kentucky. And then, of course, our current international students as well. For example, Juan Diego, who is here joining me, one of our international student ambassadors from Honduras, who is also studying engineering, civil engineering. Juan, I don't know if you want to say hi real quick before we get started.
Sure. Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Landon. I'm happy to be here too. As Landon said, a little bit about me. My name is Juan Diego, and I'm an international student from Honduras, and I'm majoring in civil engineering. I'm a sophomore. So yeah, happy to be here and answer any questions you guys might have.
Excellent, excellent. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can you guys see it? Everyone can see my screen? Good? Okay, perfect. So today we're going to talk about how to apply and be successful in engineering programs. A lot of this will be relevant to applying to any degree program at US universities and being successful. But engineering is obviously a very specialized area within universities. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration when thinking about applying to engineering schools at US universities and engineering programs. So to get started, we're just going to talk about some general considerations when you're thinking about applying to an engineering program. For example, first and foremost, why do I want to study engineering, right? A lot of students, know that it's very popular. They know there's a lot of demand for engineering professionally, but it's of course important to actually think why you want to study engineering, right? What inspires you about engineering? Do you truly enjoy engineering, or do you just want to do it because you've heard it's a popular field to study? And then if you are genuinely interested in engineering, or you think you might be, then what specific area within engineering interests you? Because of course there are a lot of sub specializations within the general field of engineering, and we'll talk about some of those a little later. And then of course, are you committed to the program? Because engineering programs at any university are very rigorous programs. There's a lot of time that is involved. It's certainly an investment, and this is something that you have to be prepared for when you are applying to the program and admitted to the program. And of course, Juan Diego, he can talk a little more about that later and give you a student's perspective. And then of course, what are your long-term goals? What are your goals after graduation? Because again, it is an investment, right? While you're in the university, it's a lot of time and commitment to studies, right? Again, very rigorous programs. So it's important, even from your early years, to at least have a general vision of what your goals are, what you would like to do with your engineering degree after graduation. So whenever you're going through the decision-making process about whether you want to apply to an engineering program, what specific engineering program you want to apply to, it's very important to know that the skills and qualities that will be needed, that will be absolutely required in order to be successful in an engineering program. Of course, math and sciences, right? There's no way to avoid it. You will be doing a lot of math. It's just part of the engineering programs, every single one of them. So hopefully you like math, or think that you can begin to like it, because you will certainly be using a lot of it from the first semester of your first year. And then general problem solving skills, of course, right? I mean, this is again relevant to a lot of different degree programs, but engineering, it's all about solving problems. So you better be analytically minded if you think you want to study an engineering program. And then maybe some aspects that students don't always think about or associate with engineering programs, but are nevertheless important in order to succeed in an engineering program: communication skills, interpersonal skills, and collaboration, right? There's a lot of group projects, and you will be required to work with students from all different backgrounds, right? All different personalities, nationalities, levels of studies, right? So it's important to be able to collaborate with people in order to succeed in your engineering classes when you're doing these group projects. And then, of course, this is something that will translate, hopefully, to being successful after you graduate as well, when you're working at companies, engineering firms, all types of organizations, because there's just no way to avoid having to collaborate and work with other people. So although interpersonal skills, strong interpersonal skills, communication skills aren't something that a lot of students may associate with engineering, again, they are very important and will also be required of you. And then, speaking of the different fields in engineering, just to clarify for anyone who may not be super familiar with how the structure of US universities are. At US universities, you have your major, which is your main degree program, and then the option to do a minor, which is like a specialization area, a subfield of your main degree program, right? So all US universities are going to offer majors and minors. A lot of students will choose a minor in an area that complements their major. For example, maybe you want to study electrical engineering as your major, your main degree program, and then you want to study mechanical engineering as a minor, just to have some specialization, some expertise in the area of mechanical engineering too, because of course both of those areas are very complementary to each other. But another option to emphasize as well is what's called a double major, having two full degree programs, and specifically if they're in the same general area, for example, engineering, then it's very feasible to do, because a lot of the core curriculum the first year or two are the same courses, right, required of all engineering programs. So it's very feasible to combine two full degree programs and use your electives strategically, right, to still finish on time, or at least not add too much more time to your studies, and graduate with 2 degrees. For example, I know one international student who's currently double majoring in biomedical engineering and chemical engineering. Obviously, both of those fields are complementary of each other, right? Biomedical, the biosciences, and chemistry, right? Chemical engineering, they go hand in hand. So he chose to do that. And again, there's a lot of overlap, so it's very feasible to do that and still graduate on time. Of course, there's a lot of work required to do that, but it is an option. So it's certainly something to think about. And then finally, a lot of universities, for example, at the University of Kentucky, there are what are called certificate programs, right? Undergraduate certificate programs, which are a little more than a minor, right? It gives you a little more specialization. You take a few more courses to achieve this certificate program in a specific area, for example, environmental sciences or environmental engineering. But it serves like a minor in the sense that it's just something that can complement your major, your main degree program. So all of this information is going to be available on any university website. So it's very important that when you're thinking about applying to an engineering school at a specific university, to go to the page, look at all the majors they offer, look at the minors they offer, because a lot of times there are minors offered in a specific area that are not offered as majors, right? So maybe you're interested in environmental engineering and you don't see the major, but they offer it as a minor, right? So you can still get that area of expertise if you do it as a minor. So it's very important to just browse the list of majors, minors, certificate programs that universities offer. And again, you should always be able to find this on a university's website. So before you apply, just a recap here of some things to take into consideration. Oops, sorry. So one, what can you study? Again, going back to doing your research, looking at the majors, the minors that are offered at the university that you're interested in, and then some things like class size, right? Because a lot of people have different learning styles and they thrive in different types of learning environments. Some people are not bothered by large class sizes, but some people prefer small class sizes. So apart from the program itself, the student faculty ratio is very important to take into consideration. And then researching the faculty members as well, the professors, right? All of them, at least I can say for the University of Kentucky, have profiles on the College of Engineering webpage. So you can go look at all of the resumes, look at what courses they teach. And something else to take into consideration, especially if you are interested in applying to a research university. For example, the University of Kentucky is a tier 1 research university. It's important to look at the research interests of the faculty members, of the professors, because even as an undergraduate student, there are usually research opportunities available. So maybe you already know that you want to study civil engineering, you're very interested in this, and you see that there are professors that do a lot of active research in the area. And so you can connect with them from your first year and look for these research opportunities. I already discussed double majors, dual degree programs, but a lot of engineering schools will offer dual degree programs with other colleges at the university. For example, the College of Business. A lot of universities are offering a degree program in engineering with a pathway to a 1-year MBA program, for example, or honors programs. For example, at the University of Kentucky, our College of Engineering has a partnership with the College of Business to do a minor in international business, which, again, just because you're an engineer does not mean that you will not be working with people from all over the world, all different backgrounds, and it is a business, right? So it's great to have those business skills, that business acumen. So anytime there are interdisciplinary opportunities like this, it's good to take into consideration and think about, right? Whether it's a full dual degree program, a pathway to a graduate program, or an honors program between two colleges, for example, like what we offer at the University of Kentucky. And then, of course, student engagement, extracurricular activities. For example, at the University of Kentucky, we have more than 500 student organizations and clubs. So a lot of ways to meet people with shared interest. Of course, a lot of it is, recreational, things to do for fun. But a lot of these clubs are for professional development, right? For example, a robotics club, an aerospace club. These are great opportunities to not only better prepare yourself academically while you're in school, but also for networking, right? To meet people, to meet upperclassmen, to meet graduate students, and usually professors are engaged in these clubs as well. And again, this information you should also be able to find on most university websites if they have specific clubs related to your area of interest. And then some universities, for example, the University of Kentucky, offer what are called living learning programs. So these are residence halls, these are dorms on campus where students that are studying programs in the same college, for example, the College of Engineering, live together, right? And they provide special services to people in these residence halls, in these living learning programs, like tutoring. A lot of professors are involved, and some of them live there in the residence halls with the students, right? And it's just a great way, again, to network, to meet people that are studying an engineering program that are in the same college as you. So that's something to consider when you're researching universities too. Do they offer academic clubs related to engineering in general, or my specific area of interest, or something like a living and learning program? And then we'll speak a little more about this in detail, but then internships, already mentioned research opportunities. This is why it's important to take into consideration the type of university that you're applying to, because while many universities will offer undergraduate engineering programs, the level of internships, co-ops, research opportunities offered can vary a lot depending on the type and sometimes the size of the university, right? For example, if you want to engage in research, if you think that's something you might be interested in, then you should probably be applying to a research university, right? Not all US universities are research universities. So this is important to take into consideration as well. And then some other things, on-campus events with employers, speaking of internships and co-ops, which again, we'll talk in a little more detail in a moment. On-campus events with employers, right? Job fairs, connecting with employers. Is there a career center at the university? How active is it? How many resources do they provide to help international students find these job opportunities, these internships, or job placement upon graduation, right? How many students gain industry experience via co-ops, internships while they're in school? Of course, scholarship opportunities. For example, apart from the general scholarships offered by the university, a lot of engineering programs, the College of Engineering, the School of Engineering within a university will offer their own scholarships as well. So on top of any other scholarships you receive, you could also get one from the College of Engineering. And then paid student positions, right? I know a lot of international students who work as research assistants, even undergraduate students who are working as research assistants, collaborating with graduate students, with professors in a research lab on research projects. And these are paid positions, right? So of course, it's great for building your resume, gaining professional academic experience, and it's a great way to earn some extra money outside of the classroom, right? So things like this are also very important to research and consider when you're looking at different engineering programs at different types of universities in the United States. So the application process, this can vary quite a bit, university to university. Of course, you have your more selective universities, you have universities that are less selective, and then things like, does the university require a standardized exam such as the SAT or the ACT? Many universities in the United States are test optional now, meaning that you do not have to submit the SAT in order to be considered for admission. You can just submit your high school grades. And if that's the case, you will just be considered based on your GPA, your grade point average. So that's definitely something to clarify. Some schools, the university might be test optional for general admission, but the College of Engineering does require the SAT. So that's also something to confirm whenever you're looking at different programs. For example, at the University of Kentucky, we are test optional for general admission, but the College of Engineering is also test optional as well. So you do not need the SAT to apply to the university nor to the College of Engineering. But it is important to know that the GPA requirement will be a little higher, right? For example, any student wanting to apply to an engineering program needs at least a 3.0 or higher GPA. If you do not have a 3.0 or higher, that does not mean that you cannot start at the university and then get your GPA up and later enter the engineering program. But if you would like to be admitted directly to an engineering program, then you will typically need at least a 3.0 or higher. I know the grade point average scale is different in Brazil, for example. Don't worry, this is a conversion they do automatically when you apply to the university. This is the case for most universities in the US. They will do the conversion automatically. And if you're curious about what your GPA looks like converted to the US scale, there are a lot of resources online, a lot of conversion calculators on Google, for example. You can look it up and see what your GPA would be. But most engineering programs at most universities will require you to have a higher GPA than you would need for general admission in order to enter directly into an engineering program. And then so just going into a little more detail about some of these things we talked about, giving a general overview of what to take into consideration, the general considerations, things to think about when you're researching different types of universities, the different programs offered, the extracurricular activities, but going into a little more detail and then asking our wonderful student ambassador Juan Diego here, who is a second-year engineering student. Let's talk about some of these things because Juan, I know you've had the opportunity to do some of these things. Before we even talk about this, I'll get you in here. What was your process when you were considering different types of universities? I mean, how much were you as a student thinking about things like research, co-ops, internships, or did you just like the university and then you chose the program after the fact? What was your decision-making process?
No, so I think ever since I started middle school, I knew UK is the one for me. No, so now being a little bit serious about it. So the college application process in general, it's a very complex process, as Landon was saying. There's a lot of factors you have to consider, which is good and bad sometimes, because it's good that you are able to actually choose now like a university that will suffice your needs, both academically and personal. Some people go into whatever their beliefs are, so they go to a religious institution. Some people go to an engineering focused school because they're very, very interested in engineering and their connection with the real world. Some others like big universities, some others like small universities. So I think that it's really dependent upon each individual in general. Like I remember my experience, at least I was very lucky to have a college counselor in my high school. And I know one of the, like, we looked at everything. We looked at safe schools, the ones that are you consider easy admission to, and we had some universities up there, those Ivy Leagues that everybody wants to apply to. There were also some medium level universities, but also we took into consideration size, we took into consideration cost, we took into consideration geographical location. Some people like to be in big cities, that New York type of cities, that there's like, it's a metropolis basically. Some people like little urban universities that are 2 hours away from the city and they like to be a little secluded. So it is really dependent upon you as an individual, what you want, what you're looking for. And I think that's good because you get that choice. As for that, and then for UK, if I would have to say what really got me into UK, well, first of all, I talked to a lot of universities when I did interviews for scholarships and the application process in general. And one of the things that I remember clearly from UK is the warm feeling I felt. You know, as international students, I think that was one of the things that was important to me, going into a community that would appreciate me and would take me into consideration, would value me as an individual. And I think that's one of the things that I got from UK. Every single person I talked to was nice. Rachel, which is another one of our recruiters here at UK for international students. I can show you guys the screenshot. I'm sure I have like 100 emails with Rachel, like the same email we answered, she replied, I answered, she replied, so on and so forth. And everyone's just so willing to help. I remember talking to students that took time off their classes or their schedules just to be able to answer my questions, because I had 1,000 of them. So it just the environment here in general, everybody in Lexington and Kentucky in general, I think are very nice. As for that like social aspect, and then for the academic aspect, especially because we're talking about engineering, just as Landon mentioned, we're like the top school of engineering here at Kentucky, and one of the top ones in the US too, just because our program there's a lot of things that are unique to the College of Engineering. So the College of Engineering has its own career fair. Sorry, the College of Engineering has its own career center. The College of Engineering has its own buildings and areas. And there are so many things that are unique to the College of Engineering. Their curriculum, we are one of the only ones in the country that have a first-year engineering program. So just as Landon said, it's very helpful because you get here and you get to find out if engineering is really what it is for you, or if the engineering discipline you're into is really the one you were thinking about. So there's a lot of involvement with engineering in general, and everybody is just willing to help, and the curriculum in general is just very hands-on. It's very on point, and you'll get a lot of experiential learning outside of the classroom, which I think is the most valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. That you just made there, that going into the decision-making process, applying and being successful in an engineering program, a lot of times it's a package deal, right? It's not just about the academics, the academic offer of a specific university. but also the environment, right, outside of the classroom, because that will contribute to most likely your success academically.
That's right.
Are you comfortable there? Do you have a good support system? Everything from the staff members to the other students to the professors, right? And something I didn't mention at the beginning that's another very important thing to take into consideration and a resource to utilize if it's available to you is to talk to current students, right? Most universities are going to have an option to connect with current international students. And I always say, people like me, we're here to help. This is what we do, but there's no one better to hear it from, no better perspective than another international student, someone who is usually only 1, 2, 3 years older than you. They've already gone through the process. They're currently living the experience. They're taking the courses. They're on campus. So they're a great resource too. So definitely take that into consideration when you're looking at universities. And then going back to the academic side a little, Juan. So research, right? So the University of Kentucky, of course, is a tier 1 research university. So there are certainly research opportunities. And you were telling me that you've already had the opportunity to participate in some research, right? So you want to talk a little more about what that process looked like?
Yeah, I think I went a little bit on a tangent on the experiential learning, but
good stuff. Those are good points.
Yeah, well, so first thing, as Landon said, well, I'm gonna drop my email right now in the chat, and you guys feel free to email me whenever you want to answer questions, because that's what students did for me, and I want to be the most helpful I can to everybody. But talking a little bit about what Landon was saying, so that is a very important thing, especially as an engineering major, and I think in any university in the world. Employers, because the type of work we do it's work that involves a lot of people of society. Like, for example, civil engineering, you build structures where thousands of people are going to live or work every single day. So you really need to do what you really need to know what you're doing. And that experiential learning that Landon was talking about is one of the things that we have here at UK, that it's very important that you find, because a lot of employers before you graduate, they like to see that you have done this experiential learning, is what they call it, which is when you actually do like internships or research, or you go outside and work for companies and you actually get that hands-on experience. So a little bit of my experience with all of this experiential learning here at UK. So as Landon said, last summer as a freshman, I was very lucky to start this research opportunity with the head of civil engineering here, which was a very casual conversation. We were just talking one day, and then he was just like, "Hey, I have this research opportunity. Would you like to take it?" And I was like, "Yeah." So we started researching, and my research is a little bit on transportation and roads. But just as Landon said, like, we are a number one research institution here in the US. So we have a lot of research, and all of the professors, I think that's part of their job. Like, half of their time they teach and half of their time they research. So I'm sure that every single career, every single discipline you involve here, or you get into here in UK, will have a professor researching something about it. So that it's very easy to get involved in. Some of them are paid, which is a plus. Some of them are not, but it's still experience that it's invaluable and that companies love to see. I know that when I was applying for internships right now as a sophomore, the one thing that every single employer mentioned and pointed out in my interviews was like, "Hey, so tell us a little bit about your research, or tell us a little bit about what your research was about, or what was your day-to-day tasks," because employers love to see that, and they love to see that you have that actual experiential learning that I was talking about. So that's one of the good things that we have here. It's very easy to get involved. There's research for every single area that you might think of, and professors are always needing research assistants to help them with their projects, and some of them even publish papers and you get involved in them. Some others do studies, some others give conferences. So it's a very broad field. As for the research type, and then for the more like the career and the co-ops, internships, so our College of Engineering has its own career center. So we have 2 people that specialize in just helping College of Engineering students get an internship or a co-op, and they're specialized in that. And there's career fairs where we can get involved, where employers literally come to the university just to talk to you guys. We all dress in our suits and our business outfits, and we just go and talk to employers, and most of us get interviews from there. And then some of us even get and then the networking, that's right. And we get interviews, and you get invited for other jobs or other sites, and it's just a very great experience, and it's very easy, and there's a whole team working to support you because everybody wants to see you succeed here. Everybody wants you to get an internship too. So it's a very important thing to consider, definitely, when looking for a university.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we will talk a little bit more about some of the professional opportunities and how international students can navigate that. Of course, the careers too, it can vary so much. I already talked about some of the qualities that are needed to be successful in an engineering program that will also be most likely required of you to be successful after you graduate as well, because we can see here you can graduate with an engineering degree, but you never know what type of organization, company, and environment you're going to be working for or in, right? I mean, maybe you're in an international environment, maybe you're doing more, local things, but you might be in a management role, you might be in a consulting role, you might be working for a nonprofit, a government agency, right? So that's why even more so, like Juan was mentioning, it's very important to explore all of these different career possibilities from your first year, from your freshman year, right? Because you are learning about the entire professional field as you are studying, as you're growing in in your specific degree program in your area, right? Civil engineering, mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, right? You're learning about the industry as you're learning about the specific discipline. So going to these career fairs, talking to the different types of companies, the employers, asking them questions like what they're looking for, what do they want from their employees, when they're hiring recent grads, are there anything, is there anything in specific that they would prefer that students have, because maybe this influences the electives that you choose, or like we talked about minors, undergraduate certificate programs, maybe if they like people that are very educated in aspects of environmental engineering, environmental sciences as well, sustainability, then these are classes that you might want to take before you graduate, right? So it's very important to start thinking of these things, of course, when you're at the university, but even starting now, when you're looking at which university you want to apply to as
Right.
well. And with that being said, we have, so many other things that, that we could elaborate on, and I'm sure some people have questions. I want to make sure we have enough time for that as well. But before we do that, I do just want to give everyone a brief overview of the University of Kentucky as well. We've already talked about it a little, but the University of Kentucky is a public university, a public research university, as we mentioned, a tier 1 research university, which is the highest classification for research universities in the US. We're test optional, again, for general admission, including for our engineering programs, and scholarship consideration as well. We're a residential campus, meaning that we have student dorms on campus. We also have living learning programs, LLPs as they're called, and an engineering living learning program as well. The University of Kentucky is located in Lexington, Kentucky, which is a medium-sized city of about 330,000 people. There's a lot of great information on the University of Kentucky website as well, if you want to learn more about the city. Specifically, the College of Engineering. These are the degree programs that we offer. I always tell students, all the main engineering programs, the popular ones that everyone asks about, we have those, as you can see, but some of the maybe more specific areas, or we could say less common areas for undergraduate programs that you're not going to find at every university, are programs like aerospace engineering, biosystems and agricultural engineering, material science as well, a very interesting field. There's a lot of great information on the University of Kentucky engineering page about material science, and then mining engineering as well. Fun fact, Kentucky has a very big mining industry, especially in the eastern part of the state. So mining engineering is a very popular program here, and there are a lot of very distinguished professors in the mining engineering program. If you are
And there are
interested,
very actually there's sorry
go
and
ahead.
there's actually very few students that get into that field, so there's a lot of demand from employers and companies for those graduates, because it's not a common major for the engineers get into. So
Absolutely, yeah. And if you want to, maybe you're curious about what these programs actually look like on paper, you know, what are the professional opportunities, what are the specific courses I would take if I'm, you know, looking at biosystems and agricultural engineering. On the University of Kentucky website, on the College of Engineering page, you can find a very comprehensive overview of each of these programs. You can click on the program and find all the information there. And then this is just, you know, a general overview of what engineering curriculum looks like. And this would be pretty standard at most US universities, right? So, you know, we talked about, you know, your math, your science courses, how you better be prepared for that if you're interested in an engineering program. And then the core curriculum, as it's called, this first year engineering program that all engineering students are going to take, right? So it doesn't matter if you're studying mechanical engineering, civil engineering, aerospace engineering, there is a core curriculum, a core set of engineering courses, for example, Introduction to Engineering, right? That all students will take. So a lot of students sometimes get confused about that because they get admitted into what's called a pre-engineering program. And that's what it is, this first year engineering program that all engineering students must take. And then, of course, you go into your specific area of study. Speaking a little more about the career services at the University of Kentucky, but again, this is going to be common at a lot of US universities. There is a full career center at the university that helps you find these research opportunities, these co-op experience, internship experiences. And these are, you know, while you're in school, right? So during the semester, during the summer vacation periods, these are the same people that will host, you know, the job fairs on campus, help you get connected to employers, things like building your resume, practicing for interviews, right? And again, just career exploration and thinking about the things we talked about earlier as you're growing in the program, you know, from year to year, and thinking about what you want to do after you graduate. Something else I want to mention that I think I should mention it here because I don't know if we have another opportunity to mention it before we finish, but all students graduating from US universities are eligible for a program called OPT, Optional Practical Training. And that is where you can work at any company or organization related to your area of study for up to 12 months, 1 year after you graduate. But if you are graduating with a STEM degree, so a program designated as science, technology, engineering, mathematics, which of course all engineering programs would be categorized as STEM degrees, you are eligible for up to 3 years of OPT. So 3 years working at any company or organization related to your field of study after you graduate. So even more important that you do internships, do co-ops, participate in research, and do this networking like we were talking about earlier while you're in school, because a lot of times, and I'm sure Juan can speak to this a little, I know many international students that were very active and taking advantage of these opportunities while they were in school, and before they even graduate, entering their senior year, they already have an OPT opportunity, right? They already know an employer, a company that they're going to go work for after they graduate. And of course, you know, working somewhere for 3 years after you graduate, that's a lot of really good experience as an international student. And after that, you know, you never know what can happen. You never know who you're going to meet, what type of company you might be working at, and what opportunities can open up. So Juan, I don't know if you have any comments on that as well. I know you're only a sophomore in your second year, but I know you've had the chance to interact with other international students that have already graduated or are in their last year. So maybe you can speak to that a little too.
yeah, of course. So speaking of the OPT that you were talking about, I completely agree. First of all, Zach Fuca, which is right there in the screen, he's the co-op program director. So he's the one that assists us and trains us and makes sure that we get a job before we graduate. So he's the one that helps us with that. But he came and gave a talk a day. I remember one of my engineering classes, and he gave the statistics for it. And he said that it was like proven that because the purpose of the university and the College of Engineering in general is that you graduate with a full-time job offer, so that you are ready to get into the industry, if that's the whatever your plan is, or you continue studying, but that's their objective. And he said that most of their students in the College of Engineering do. And he said that those who don't, or that it takes them a little more time to get a full-time job, is because they had like zero experiential learning. So zero research, zero co-ops, zero internships. So it's a very important factor to consider. And just as I was saying, because right now, as Landon was saying, I'm a sophomore, so I'm actually I was telling him that I just signed up with a company for an internship next summer. So yeah, thank you. So I don't know how that's gonna work yet, but I'm very excited for that opportunity. But one of the things that them as a company say a lot is like, if we are gonna have you work for us a summer, like we are gonna invest in you, and we're gonna invest in you because we are interested in giving you a full-time job when you graduate. So that's what Landon was saying, that it is important for you to get those opportunities, because that the way that you invest your time and effort into getting those internships, that same way companies invest in you, and they're not gonna use your resources, their resources and their time to train somebody that they're just gonna throw away after the internship. It's someone that they want to prepare for a full-time position someday. So it's just a very, very important thing to consider. I think it's worth mentioning a lot of times. And just as Landon was saying, also as international students, there's opportunity for that. My brother, who he graduated from another university a couple of years ago from another program, but he also got into his OPT opportunity. So he got a job, a full-time job, and that job, because he wasn't able to stay in the US more than his visa allowed him to, but they transferred him to another of their offices in Europe. So now he's living in Europe, working for the same US company. So there's like a broad amount of
That's not a bad
opportunity.
deal.
Oh no, I would take that, definitely. So there's a lot of opportunities that are to be taken into consideration, and definitely co-ops and internships definitely open you the doors. And just as Landon was saying, like the networking, you never know who you're gonna meet. You never know what that company can do for you, and you never know what you're gonna teach, what they're gonna teach you, what you're gonna learn with them. So it's very important that you guys do it.
Absolutely. I already discussed our living and learning program. Again, a lot of universities offer things like this, but for sure we offer it at the University of Kentucky. I can say, and it's just an opportunity to live with people that are also studying an engineering program. Again, they offer special services just for people involved in the living and learning program, like tutoring there within the residence hall, workshops, social activities. So, we talked about this earlier, just even social life, the social aspect, the community aspect outside of the classroom. When you're considering universities, researching universities, this is something to take into consideration. The student organizations and clubs, like we talked about, career events, career services, like we just talked about as well. And then, of course, as we're finishing up here, I want to open it up to any questions that you all have. Juan Diego is, again, one of our current engineering students, an international student. He's in his second year. So fairly recently, he just went through this process, the application process, the research process. He's living the life right now. So he's a great resource. Ask him any questions. And then, of course, I'm here to help as well. So thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you, Landon. Thank you, Juan. For the students that are here, pessoal, não precisa ter vergonha. Se vocês tiverem qualquer dúvida, vocês podem aproveitar esse momento, porque o Juan é um aluno que passou exatamente pelo que vocês estão passando agora, e ele está super se colocando aqui à disposição para responder qualquer dúvida, e o Landon também. Então, se você tiver com dúvida, você pode escrever no chat, mas usem esse momento para tirar suas dúvidas, porque é uma oportunidade única. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. That was really great. And Juan, congratulations on your internship for the summer. That's really amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and thank you guys for having us. It is amazing. And just as Landon said, and as I said earlier, like, we're here to help, and we know it's a very demanding and and intense process, the college application process, but it is definitely worth it, and it's so much easier when you have people there to support you. And here in the University of Kentucky, we are interested in supporting you. So I dropped my email there in the chat, just as Landon did too. Feel free to email me if you can't come up with any questions right now, which you're free to do. If you have any questions, please let us know. But if you don't, then there's my email, and feel free to text me or write to me, and we can schedule something too. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah, so again, if anyone has any questions right now, I mean, it's a pretty small group here, so feel free to turn on your microphone. You can put a question in the chat. I know we have some time to answer any questions you have as well.
We do. While they're thinking of questions, Juan, was there something that you learned when you were applying that you wished someone would have told you before, that you had to kind of learn the hard way?
Ooh, so many things. I think that the one that I always regret about is like starting early on. Like, I think that's one of the best things you can do. And at least me, I was a little bit of a procrastinator with that process because nobody wants to do it, right? But we all have to. But I remember like one of the, like whenever you write your essays, like your admission essays, your supplemental essays, your scholarship essays, like always take the time to really write meaningful essays, because that can make the difference between you getting a scholarship and you not getting it. And one of the things that I would change definitely if I would go through this process again is especially that, like, take more time from my weekends, take more time from my free time, and actually put more effort into those essays, and make sure that you really project who you are, because that's what admission officers are really interested in, getting to know you. So really put effort into those, really do your research. I think that's another thing I could have done. Like, I did research, but I could have gone more profound. Like, I didn't do any research on professors or curriculums, like the special classes that I would have taken. Like, I think that's something very valuable that Landon mentioned. I remember I researched like sizes and cost and their programs, obviously, if they had the major I was interested in. But I think what Landon was mentioning, like, and that's a very good tool, like actually looking for and that works for any university. If you Google your, for example, civil engineering major map, University of Kentucky, then you'll actually see like the major map that shows each and every one of the classes you need to graduate. So that'll give you an idea of what to expect, what the program is, if engineering is or is not for you, or whatever discipline you decide to go. So that's a very, very good thing to take into consideration. Let's see what else.
That is a very good tip. I was just telling, I had an orientation today. Oh, here, I have a question that came in the direct messages to me. There are a lot of, so there are a lot of Brazilians applying to university. What is the ideal time to prepare to apply? Sorry if I already talked about this, but I came in a little late. So I think maybe, I don't know if you guys want to take this, or I can.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of variables in the question, right? So, which year are you in? But for example, at least at the University of Kentucky, the priority deadline for scholarship consideration is December 1st. So very soon. So if you're interested in applying still, the time to do it would be right now. If you're just talking
like
about
now.
Yeah, right now. But if you're talking about just the preparation process, like researching universities, looking at the different programs, just preparing yourself academically, things like essays and the other aspects we've talked about, you definitely want to start, I would say, at least a full year ahead of time. So when you're entering your last year of high school, if not your second to last year of high school, right? And at least just start thinking about these things. But obviously it depends on the resources you have at your school, or maybe you're working with your local, EducationUSA advisor. So, with that being said, Marina, of course, you can comment on that a little more as well.
Right.
Yeah, I think I always say the earlier the better, just because it gives you a lot. Fernando said, right now I'm running. Thank you.
Excellent. There you
Ron
go.
Fernando.
Exactly.
Ron Fernando.
I was just telling a student that came to me today to go over essay reviews, and they were basically kind of hated the personal statement that they had right now, and they want to start over. And they had the deadline, they have a deadline January 1st, and they're like, is it enough time? And I'm like, look, it's enough time if you sit down and you dedicate yourself to it. And I was like, you might have to sleep a little less on the weekends, or maybe not go to a birthday party or two. And I think that's something that students take a little time to realize. And so that's why I try to say it flat out of the gate is, you might have to not do some things in order to do this. If this is your priority, you need to prioritize
That's right.
it.
Right. And I remember my college counselor, she always said, I remember my college prep class started my second semester of my junior year in high school. So in 11th grade. And I remember she said, like, you want to have essays and tests and scores and your Common App essay if you're applying through the Common App or all of those supplemental things, like you want to have them ready like by August. Like maybe like those supplemental, like your test scores and your resume and things like that, so that in from August through December, which is where most universities have their deadline, focus just on applying and just sending everything and just sending all of the supplemental materials. It is good that all the first 6 months of the year the 6 months before your senior year, you get all of the things you need to apply done, so that in the second half you can just apply. You can just apply to the universities and to the colleges. Yeah,
that's a good
But
timeline.
let's not discourage Fernando. There's still time.
Oh yeah, like I
Yeah,
said,
no. Oh,
December
yeah.
1st. December 1st.
Fernando, yeah, let me tell you a little secret. I remember I applied to University of Kentucky November the 30th, like at 10 p.m.
So
Still
there you
time.
go.
So yeah, compared to that, you have a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
But the sooner the better.
Oh, definitely. That's one of the things I would change too. Because that cost me a little bit. It's okay. We all learn.
Emotional cost, I think, for the students who have it
Right.
a lot to do at the end. Do we have any other questions? Those are very good insights, Juan. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, again, everyone, our emails are in the chats. All of this information you can find on the University of Kentucky International page. I mean, literally in Google, if you type in University of Kentucky International, first page that pops up, you'll find all this information there. The College of Engineering page as well. You can find all the degree programs, the specific courses, the professional opportunities, the career services, everything we talked about today. You can find this information on the website. So feel free to look there or email us. We're here to help.
And all of this has been recorded, and so it will be on the EducationUSA Brazil YouTube page.
Yes.
So once again, I just wanted to say thank you guys for taking the time to be here today and to talk to us. It was great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And thank you for everybody that came.
Bye-bye, everyone.
All right.